Hello everyone, and welcome back to Formula 2 for round number 8 of the 2023 Formula 2 season. We're at the Red Bull Ring today, and we have crossed the halfway mark of the season into now the second half, and yeah, we'll see what this round brings. So let's see how we go in qualifying. Our first flyer was alright. We've got ourselves in amongst it, but I think we can do a little bit better if we just tidy things up a bit. So this is our second consecutive lap, and yeah, our pace was decent throughout practice. I shouldn't say throughout, in practice, the one session that we get in Formula 2. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out in the qualifying session itself as we race our way down towards turn 4, using the entry curve there, missing the apex a bit, but still carrying the speed alright. We've got a purple first sector, not that the first sector involves a particularly large number of corners, but well, I mean, really it's only one corner, but middle sector now. Let's see how things go. We are improving still, but no purple sector, so we'll see. I'm not sure if we'll quite get to the top. It all depends on how things go in the final sector, so let's see if we can hit our marks here through the final few corners. It's a very tricky sequence. I've always struggled a little bit with those last two corners. Definitely could have carried better speed through the final one, but to the line now. We're going to go fastest of all with a purple final sector. I think that's the best lap I can do today, so let's box it and hope it stands.
The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action, and until then, goodbye.
Well, it's a front row lockout for the MP Motorsport team. Dennis Hauger ahead of Jane Deruvala. Awesome result by those two guys. Down the order, Jack Crawford will take reverse grid pole ahead of Frederick Vesti, Enzo Fittipaldi, and Jack Doohan back in amongst the action, which is great to see. In terms of, oh, look at that. Victor Martins down in P19, Kush Maini down in P17, so no good from those two, and that's not going to be good for neither ourselves or the ART team in the Team's Championship points at the end of this round. So they both have a lot of work to do if they want to bring home any decent results throughout this weekend. But pressure is on for Jack Crawford with a very speedy Frederick Vesti alongside for the sprint race coming up now.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint race then. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? So Spielberg is one of the shortest laps on the F2 calendar, just 10 corners, 7 right and 3 left. Look out for the uphill braking zone into turn 3 that represents one of the better opportunities to overtake. Also turn 4 straight afterwards, and then the next one being all the way back round to turn 1. And we welcome you to the Formula 2 commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me for this one is Mr. Alex Brundle. And we've got this format in Formula 2, Alex, where the top 10, they get reversed from qualifying to form our grid. So the mid-order in qualifying now become contenders for the win.
Well, you've got the grid reversed, giving some drivers who wouldn't normally get it the opportunity to take a win or a podium home. They're going to be looking to snatch that opportunity, if at all possible.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
I will not let you down. Starting out of P7 for the sprint race. But look at that, rain forecast. I think that's about the half-hour mark in the race. So we could very much get to that, I think, especially if there are any delays. That might even be the 20-minute mark. I forget what the rain or the weather forecast icons represent in terms of time these days. All I remember is it's not linear. But anyway, 5 red lights are on. And the lights are out, and we are underway for the sprint race in Austria, and it looks like a good launch for Jack Crawford, and it's Vesti the one who struggles off the line. Doohan to the inside, Fittipaldi to the outside as it's 3 wide as behind as well. We make our way around the outside up into P5. Vesti holds off the 2 behind and just about maintains second position, with Doohan slotting into 4th, Enzo Fittipaldi 3rd, but Jack Crawford has a monstrous lead into turn 3 for the first time, and the 3 wide action behind has made that very easy for the American driver to maintain first place throughout the first lap. We tried to get to the inside of Jack Doohan but couldn't get the power down on the exit, and now as we race towards turn 4 we still find ourselves in 5th position. There was a little bit of contact on the apex of turn 3 but nothing in it really, and no damage to speak of, so we race on, and yeah, we'll just see if we can focus forwards and try again when we get the next opportunity. But it's been a good start for us regardless, up 2 from a nice launch off the line, but I wanted to focus on the action at the front as it all got a little bit chaotic for the top 4, but now we are back on board with myself for the remainder of the first lap. We have a little bit of a run going here. If we can get some nice traction out of the final corner, we're not quite good enough, and Doohan does enough to remain ahead for the time being. But yeah, it is a very much... Oh, a lock up there for Doohan into turn 1. He still gets it turned nicely though, but under pressure as we work our way up. Oh, radio.
Rain is forecast in just over 10 minutes time. Rain in 10 minutes.
Wow, that's coming much sooner than expected. I will say that sometimes the engineer saying 10 minutes can work out to be much longer than that. It's when they start saying 5 minutes and a few laps out and things like that when it is really coming soon. The 10 minutes...
Watch out for understeer in the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as quickly as you can. Push, push.
You know, when they say 10 to 15 minutes, that can... They can still be saying that 10 to 15 minutes later. Genuinely. So, yeah, it's not always particularly accurate. But here's the onboard with Jack Doohan. He got the best start in the top 4. But had nowhere to go. Tried to get down the inside of Frederik Vesti and couldn't quite get the move done. Just too tight on the inside line with 2 cars on the outside, and in the end they all find their positions or back where they started. Here's the onboard with Théo Pourchaire, who started 1 place behind us. It was a really nice launch by the Frenchman, and he was able to get down the inside of a couple of cars into turn 1. Bit of contact with Ollie Behrman there though, and as they race their way up the hill side by side, Théo Pourchaire actually picked up a little bit of front wing damage as Ollie Behrman gets the momentum in the slipstream. Pourchaire on the inside though, into the braking zone. There's our move on Jack Doohan. That didn't quite come off on the exit, and Ollie Behrman manages to get back around the outside of Pourchaire, who might be struggling with a little lack of downforce at the front end of that car now, with just a slight amount of front wing damage. Meanwhile, we get out over the exit curb of turn 3, and that might be enough to incentivize Oliver Behrman down the inside, and there's nothing we can do to defend against that. Behrman's through.
Try to stay with them. They might make a mistake and we could still regain the position.
He throws the block into turn 4, but we can't do anything about it, and Ollie Behrman retakes his place in the top 5. So let's see what we can do. Can we get it back as we have to dodge the Brit into the braking zone of turn 3? And yeah, we're just maybe a little bit deep. Ollie Behrman a little bit early on the brakes with the queue of cars in front. So yeah, we just got a little bit caught out by that. But as we race our way up the hill once more, maybe there'll be another opportunity as we have a look to the inside. Down the inside of Oliver Behrman, a lock-up for one of the cars up the road as we squeeze our way to the inside. But again, we can't get the power down on the inside line, and Oliver Behrman holds on. It was Jack Crawford, the race leader, who locked up there. So that's a shame for the American driver, putting a mark on those tyres, and is feeling the pressure from the chasing pack, is Jack Crawford. Let's see what happens with that battle later on, but we're still focused on trying to get this move done on Oliver Behrman. We send it up the inside into turn 3 this time, but again Behrman is able to carry better speed around the outside, and we can't make the position yet. On board with Victor Martins now, making the move to the inside of Kush Maini, both trying to make their way through the field, and they both go for the move on the next car. Martins in deep into the side of Brad Benavides in the PHM car. Martins gets through on Maini, makes 2 places in 1 corner, so it was a good overtake, but slight contact with Benavides and possibly front wing damage for Victor Martins with that contact. So We'll see this from another angle. Kush Miney sends it up the inside of Roman Stanek, and you can see the contact there. Martins into the side of Brad Benavides. Roman Stanek trying to hold his ground around the outside, and Kush Miney forced to slot in behind. He's on board with Stanek. Great presence of mind by the Czech driver to realise that there were two cars charging down the inside. He left space for both of them, just minding his own business on the outside and managing that situation. So great presence of mind there to not turn that into a bigger incident. So awesome work by Roman Stanek, and he does hold on to one of those places. Meanwhile, we've got Frederik Vesti closing in to Jack Crawford and making the move to the outside through turn 3. Crawford's forced to leave him the space on the exit, and Frederik Vesti's through. And the Dane makes his way up into the race lead as they drag race towards turn 4, but Vesti's got the move done. And now it's our turn to see if we can make a move down the inside of Behrman into turn 4. We've got a little bit of an overlap, and we shimmy our way through at the apex, and Oliver Behrman's forced to give us the position, as we just about made that one work, but that was a on the limit overtake. We just got enough of an overlap to sort of force Behrman off the ideal line, and that was all we needed to get through. Meanwhile, we've got Crawford, another mistake there, and that's allowed Fittipaldi straight through, and Doohan closing in as well, as we're right on the back of Doohan. We all of us got a little bit balked by that. But Jack Crawford needs to recollect himself after these few little mistakes. He lost the race lead, just locked up there to lose second position to Enzo Fittipaldi, who is having a really great race today. It's got to be said, Enzo Fittipaldi has some great speed out there, but we are still stuck in 5th position at the moment, not able to do anything about Jack Doohan, as we all got caught up in that little moment. But Doohan to the outside of Jack Crawford now as we head into turn 3. Not close enough to make the move quite yet for Jack Doohan, but Crawford's lacking pace. Maybe just cooked the tyres a little bit with the couple of lockups we've seen. Maybe pushed a bit too hard in the early stages. Team radio.
It looks like rain is inbound, and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes until the rain.
Well, if Crawford's tyres are struggling, they won't have to last much longer, because the rain is just a few laps away now as we get the DRS open behind Jack Doohan, but nothing we can do at the moment. Meanwhile, Enzo Fittipaldi, I said he's got some great pace. He's putting the pressure on Frederik Vesti, and Enzo Fittipaldi might be on to make the move here towards turn 1. Round the outside goes Enzo Fittipaldi into turn 1, and the Brazilian driver's through and just barely has the nose ahead of Frederik Vesti as they continue to race up towards turn 3. Is this the opportunity, as Jack Crawford's getting back involved as well? Crawford's refound some pace in this race. Round the outside of Frederik Vesti goes Crawford, and Vesti's lost the race lead and now lost second position. The Dane is tumbling down the order. Is there some kind of issue with that Prema? Because there goes Jack Doohan, and Doohan's going to try and make the move to the outside through turn 4. It's a long way round. Vesti gives him the space. Jack Doohan all the way around the outside, almost off circuit, but Jack Doohan fights through and takes his place on the podium as Frederik Vesti tumbles down the order. And we've got to find our way through soon too if we want to maintain our proximity to these top 3. Vesti clearly has an issue, as he was able to take the lead earlier on, and now has suddenly tumbled down the order, losing 3 places in not even a lap. So there is clearly some issue with the Vesti mobile, and we make the move down the inside into the final corner. Sketchy one, but we get away with it and move ourselves ahead into P4. So Frederik Vesti might try to come back at us here. With our setup, we are lacking a tiny bit of straight line speed, so we are a little bit vulnerable. But Vesti has bigger concerns with Oliver Behrman behind in the other Prema. So yeah, there's clearly an ongoing issue for Vesti, unfortunately, and it's costing him a lot of time here. And eventually, I think Oliver Behrman will find his way through. But at the moment, Vesti doing enough to hold off the other Prema there. So, wowee.
At least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there.
And now the rain is falling in this race, just to add another little touch of complexity. Where is the crossover? practice was wet, so I do have a little bit of an idea of what wet weather lap times are like.
Dropping back. We're seeing a gap starting to form.
So, with that in mind, dry lap times, our current best lap is in the 19s. Wet laps around 10 seconds slower. Let's see.
Okay, so that last lap, 1 minute 23.6.
23.6. So that is reasonably slow, but I don't think we're at the crossover yet, as we see the Premers start fighting away now, and as predicted, Oliver Behrman finding the speed over Frederick Vesti, who's clearly struggling at the moment. So yeah, oh, Jane Deruvala going slowly, and this is not what MP Motorsport need. It was the reverse grid race, of course, so they started down at the back of the top 10, but points were still on offer for the Indian driver if he could have a nice race. But a retirement is not going to do him any favours. I guess the light at the end of the tunnel is that it wasn't in the feature race where Deruvala will be starting on the front row. Anyway, back on board with myself now as we continue the chase of Jack Doohan towards turn 9. And oh, big engine failure for Jack Doohan! Just seconds after Deruvala pulled off the road, Jack Doohan's engine expires. Right in front of us, we get a face full of smoke.
At least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there. Right,
Jack Doohan's out of the race. Red flag is out. 2 cars off the road.
Okay.
Goodness me, we almost drew the back of Crawford there. But wow. Red flag. Just because 2 cars had an engine failure at virtually the same time. Jack Doohan out of the race. I thought maybe that there was a crash if Jack Doohan got in the way of someone who was coming through, but nope, Doohan was able to get out of the way safely and without impeding or colliding with anyone. So yeah, just from the 2 cars parked off the edge of the road.
So far, but this is a chance to take a breath. We've got another half of this race to go, and there's still a big opportunity there.
The red flag was called. So what now? What is the situation? It's wet. It's very wet. We're on the wet tyres now for the rest of the race, so thankfully the exact crossover was not something we had to consider. And yeah, the red flag kind of sorted that out for us. So
Okay. Wait in just a moment. Stand by.
let's see how the restart goes. 5 red lights are on, and we're on the way for the Spielberg Sprint Part 2. And it looks like Fittipaldi's got away well. He immediately covers the inside. Jack Crawford now on the outside line, but no move to be made towards turn 1 as Crawford almost squeezes us out of road there. We didn't quite have an overlap. I was desperately trying to get involved in the fight with the what's the top 2 now in front of us. We've been elevated into the podium positions by Doohan's DNF as we are going to be on the defensive a little bit from the 2 Premers behind, who are very speedy and of course launching straight into the full wet conditions after being on a relatively dry circuit. In comparison to this, this is going to be a very tricky phase of the race, and you can see already that Fittipaldi and Crawford have skipped away slightly, so I need to very quickly find a rhythm or we're going to go tumbling down the order. For the moment we've held on to 3rd, but yeah, we are struggling for grip and for pace, so yeah, we need to find our groove very quickly, but it's not an easy task to just to be suddenly faced with a completely different circuit to what we had earlier. Look how close the 2 Premers are behind us. We're virtually being pushed towards turn 9, but we're doing enough to hold on for now. But yeah, that's the thing with no DRS for those 2. So long as we can stay on the racing line, and we don't have to be completely perfect. As long as we can be smooth on the power.
Manage your tyres. Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them. The rain's getting lighter now, but it's going to take a while for the track to dry out.
Alright, let's try that again. So long as we can be smooth on the power and just hold our line and avoid mistakes, we should be fine. Not sure what happened with the radio there. Over the previous lap or so, I asked the engineer a couple of different things, and he came back with nothing. And then decided to just drop them all at once there. So yeah, a bit strange, but that's what just happened. So yeah, we got a bit of a team radio dump just there. Never had that issue before, actually. It's a strange one. But as we carry on, the pressure from the Pramers continue as we do start to get something of a rhythm now, and we are building up the speed slowly, but we've lost a lot of time to those in front. But the words from the engineer are encouraging. If the track is to dry up, I think that will benefit us. So we just need to hold on. And you know, while the top couple of cars have gotten away, our pace isn't terrible, and we're still within range if anything was to happen. So if we do start finding a bit more pace, it's not over yet for us, and we still might be able to gain a position or two in this race if we can find our form in the wet weather. But at the moment, you can see the Pramers are much more of a priority as we continue to fend off the charge from those two who are fighting with each other just as hard as they're fighting with me. So that is helping me on occasion as they continue to go side by side. That helps me get away for a moment before they catch up once more. So yeah, it's been a very interesting phase of the race. You know, sparring with those two, but not really. It's strange. I don't really feel like I'm about to lose the position, despite the fact they keep looking to the inside, outside, whichever way. Where we've never really sort of been threatened for the position in any way that sort of made me feel like I was going to lose it. As strange as it sounds, but as we carry on, you can see we have started to get a better rhythm now as the track's just dried out a touch, and now we are starting to put the pressure on Jack Crawford with only a lap and a half to go at this point. We do need to get a move on if we want any chance of getting this move done, but let's see. We've closed in a little bit over the first part of this lap, and now we might be... oh, bit of a moment there as we head through the middle sector. We had about 17 attempts at saving it, and we're still on the wriggle, but we do manage to get things pointing in the right direction and settled at the rear end once again, as through all of that we've still closed in a little bit to Jack Crawford, so we might be able to take second place towards the end of the race here, but we're going to need a very good final lap as we race our way towards turns 9 and 10 once more. Jack Crawford not far up the road. There might be an opportunity for us to take this position. Let's see what we can do with one lap remaining in this race. Enzo Fittipaldi's got it all but wrapped up at this point, but second place is up for debate if we can keep it clean and close that margin just a little bit more. You can see how much that margin has shrunk in the recent few minutes as we've been closing in to Jack Crawford, and now towards turn 3. Is this going to be the opportunity? Looks like the margin's still just a little bit too big for us to go for a dive here, but in the braking zone we close in, a little bit of contact at the apex of turn 3, and that's going to spoil our exit towards turn 4. No run for us towards one of the better overtaking opportunities, and if we want to get the move done now, we're going to have to go for something a little bit unorthodox because all the main overtaking opportunities have passed. But we're close to Jack Crawford. We're within range. If there's any mistake by the American, if there's any opportunity we can find, we might just be able to get it done. Let's see what happens through the second half of the final lap. There is absolutely nothing between us as we enter the final sector through turn 7. We're trying a bit of a different line, trying a later apex, staying out of the dirty air. Out of the dirty air again. Just trying to keep that clean air on the front wing, trying to get the downforce flowing, and it's helped us stay reasonably close, but not close enough to make a move yet. But we get a good run through turn 9, down the inside into turn 10, and we're going to snatch second position through the final corner, but out in front, Enzo Fittipaldi supreme at a soggy Spielberg sprint, and that is an awesome win for the Brazilian.
He's left them all behind. It's victory for Enzo Fittipaldi.
Well, we don't often see that one, but it really worked out, taking advantage of a stoppage for a late race pit stop in the sprint.
As we can see, it's time for the podium, and I can see the Carlin team underneath our commentary box going crazy as their driver walks out. It was a great win, and it means a great deal to this team.
What an awesome win for Enzo Fittipaldi, making overtakes and taking his opportunities, along with a flawless finish in the wet conditions to take the race win here. A nice move at the final corner seals second position for us, with Jack Crawford, a fighting drive, third is his reward.
And after all that excitement, I think it's time for a lie down. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you when Formula 2 returns.
What a turnaround in the last 2 laps of that race. Able to close into Crawford once the conditions just dried ever so slightly. It wasn't much of a difference, but the confidence came back and we're able to close that margin and make that move at the last possible moment. Unbelievable. At the start of that wet weather stint, I was having my doubts as to whether I was going to be able to hold on to the podium. We were under so much pressure from the Premers. Our corner exits were good though, and that's what was really saving us. There were really only 2 or 3 moments in the whole, final stint where, one of the Premers actually had a good run. That had me, defending in any way. But yeah, awesome result though, from P7 on the grid up to second. Awesome win for Enzo Fittipaldi as well. Not the driver I expected to come away with P1. I thought Vesti was going to take it at the first corner and run away with this result, given that, he wouldn't have got the qualifying result he expected down in P9. But ultimately, Frederik Vesti lost a bunch of places, inexplicably too. One thing I didn't end up showing is that there were 3 drivers who changed front wings under the red flag conditions, those being the 2 ARTs. We saw their moments, Teo Porcher and Victor Martins, but the other one was Frederik Vesti, and I could not find where that front wing damage came from. I looked through any time that Vesti was around other cars, and there were no notable moments of contact with the front wing. So yeah, that was a strange one. I'm not exactly sure where the front wing damage came from for Vesti, but that could be the reason he started tumbling down the order late on in the race, or in the mid phase of the race really. Yeah, what else is there to say? Let's go through the finishing results. I haven't done that yet, have I? It was, of course, Enzo Fittipaldi with the race victory ahead of myself, then Jack Crawford rounding out the podium. The Premers of Behrman and Vesti round out the top 5. Zane Maloney, Richard Verschoor and Dennis Hauger complete the points finishers, with Arthur Leclerc and Clement Novalak filling out the rest of the top 10. And the fastest lap actually went to Clement Novalak, who just snuck into the top 10 to secure a point for his efforts. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, we still lead the way. Dennis Hauger in second ahead of Frederik Vesti, third ahead of Behrman, and then Martins ahead of Porcher, Deruvala, the rest of the main contenders, although we still have a chunky lead there. In the Teams Championship, we lead the way there as well, and 12 points ahead of MP Motorsport, 21 ahead of Prema. So, the other way around, sorry, 12 ahead of Prema, 21 ahead of MP Motorsports.
Here we are amidst the dense forest and rolling hills of Spielberg in Austria, just 2 hours out of Vienna. It's an amazing destination for the race today, and we're about to get started. Spielberg is a very short lap, one of the shortest we'll see in this Formula 2 championship. 7 rights and 3 lefts make up the 10 corners of the circuit. The left-hand kink of turn 2, leading into the uphill braking of turn 3, represents another overtake hotspot. As the engineers make their last inspection of the cars, let's take a look at today's grid order for the race. A fantastic effort from Dennis Hauger yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Jehan Deruvala in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Porcher, Boschung, Zane Maloney, Behrman, Doohan, Fittipaldi, Vesti, Jack Crawford, Leclerc, Iwasa, Clement Novalak, Richard Verschoor, Stanek, Benavides, Miney and Roy Nissany, Martins, Correa, Hadjar and Anne-Marie Cordial completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. It is the Formula 2 race. It is time to introduce you to Alex Brundle. I'm Alex Jakes, and we've got changeable weather out there today. That's making for some nervous team personnel down in the paddock, down in the pit lane.
There are going to be some quivering hands on the tyre guns, aren't there, when they tighten up what could easily be the wrong specification of tyre completely for the conditions. It's a gamble out there.
Well, here we are on the grid, ready to go racing for the feature race in Austria. I don't think it's going to be too much of a gamble what tyres we start on. It's absolutely dry at the moment, but there is rain later on. So if you were to start on softs, there is maybe an argument to make that you can go straight to the wets without using the super softs. But I think everyone else is starting on the super soft, so we're not going to bother with any of that. We'll stick to the same strategy as everyone else. We're not going to try and get too fancy with it. And yeah, we'll see how this goes as we go to the 5 red lights. And we're underway for the feature race in Spielberg. And straight away, Dennis Hauger covers the inside line from pole position. We go to the middle, and we'll see if we can maybe look to the outside of Teo Portier. Nothing really doing there, and we're just going to maintain P4 off the line. So a clean start for us, and we immediately start thinking about turn 3. We're a little far back to be doing anything too crazy here. We are just going to stay in line, actually going a little bit wide of the ideal line there, just because we were closing into Teo Portier in the braking zone, but yeah, we just had to make sure we weren't going to make any awkward contact there, so we just drifted a touch wide as we now head into turn 4 though, back on line, and we'll see if we can hone in on these top 3 who have skipped away slightly so far. And again, every now and again you can just kind of see the evidence of the lack of straight line speed we have. Running quite a lot of downforce on the rear wing, so yeah, while it makes the car nice and stable and very, very nice and drivable, it does of course you know, have a little toll on lap time down the straights. So yeah, it was particularly noticeable here with 3 consecutive long straights. But the DRS is still very powerful, and still certainly a tool we can use to make our way through the field. But throughout the opening laps, this was the status quo. Hauger, Daruvala, Portier, myself, and Behrman, the 5 of us, inseparable at the front of the field. But Daruvala was the one to make the first move down the inside of Dennis Hauger at turn 4. The MP Motorsport cars fighting it out side by side through the middle sector. Hauger to the inside though for the next left-hander, and might be in position to make that stick, and does so. And Hauger maintains the lead, but the MP Motorsport drivers are not afraid to fight each other. Different liveries, but very much teammates, those two. As there's a lock-up in front as we've drifted a little way back from that. And it was Dennis Hauger who locked up there, so not too much in terms of time lost there for Hauger, but a mistake nonetheless by the Norwegian, as we go back on board with myself closing into the group once again. So the gap just ebbing and flowing a little bit, but yeah, we are on pace and in rhythm once more, as we've got a nice run here on Teo Portier. Can we make a move towards turn 1? Not quite. Maybe we're going to go for the lunge down the inside, and surprising myself as much as surprising Teo Portier there. And
nice move, keep going.
That was a nice move on Teo Portier, cleanly through, and we're up into 3rd position now as the 2 MP Motorsport cars go wheel to wheel once more, and this time Daruvala's on the outside of turn 4. Hauger trying to maintain that position. Daruvala still with a bit of an overlap to the inside. Is there going to be an opportunity for the Indian driver to get through as they continue going side by side? Is helping us close in, and Daruvala's through now, so Jay Daruvala takes the lead. I gave him a hard time previously. I said that
just made a pass for the lead.
He hadn't been scoring the points for MP Motorsport in the way that Dennis Hauger has. He's making a statement today, and not going to go down without a fight, as now Dennis Hauger is making the move around the outside. So The two MP Motorsport drivers continuing to fight each other, but it's for the race lead, and there's a big difference between finishing first and second, 7 points in it. And Jane Deruvala, of course, looking for redemption after retiring from the sprint race. Jane Deruvala will be very keen to maximise here, and there's a big opportunity to do so as they still go side by side. We got a bird's eye view of this one as Jane Deruvala is going to hold this one around the outside, and the Indian driver doing a fantastic job to hold off his teammate. And I think Deruvala does have more pace. Hauger's just using the DRS to stay in touch and occasionally go for a move when there's an opportunity, but Deruvala seems to be the faster of the two, but there's really not much in it between them. And yeah, they are both very quick at the moment as we close in now, but we're not
in this lap. Push now.
All of a sudden we're actually at our pit stop window, goodness me, but we're not close enough to do anything with Hauger just yet. But through the pit stop cycle, you know, there's a chance for an undercut perhaps. We're going on to soft compound tyres, so the warm-up should be reasonably quick despite them being the harder compound. So if we're pitting this lap, we're going to undercut one of them, and who do MP Motorsport favour here? Jane Deruvala's got the track position, but Dennis Hauger's the one higher up in the championship, so there's some discussions to be had for the Dutch team, but let's see what happens. It's going to be Deruvala who comes into the pits first, so they're favouring the driver with the track position on the day, and I think that is only fair, as we will follow the Indian driver into the pits, and yeah, we'll come in to box at the same time. We'll get the undercut on Dennis Hauger and see what that does for us. Teo Pourchaire going very slowly towards turn 9, but no smoke coming from the car, so not sure if that's a mechanical issue or some electrical gremlin, but anyway, we'll come into the box and get a set of soft compound tyres on. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Pourchaire though, but that is a podium contender in this race, losing a lot of time along that run. Pourchaire does make it back into the pits, and we'll get a new set of tyres on, and we'll have I think a relatively normal pit stop. So not sure what the issue was, but it'll be interesting to see if Pourchaire gets back up to speed.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go.
Pourchaire did lose out to Fittipaldi there, so maybe a slightly longer stop than what ART would have wanted. They might have been fixing something while he was stationary. He is the on board with Pourchaire though. Looks like he's able to get back up to speed, so whatever work they did, albeit very minor, must have been enough for Pourchaire to get back up to speed. Might have just been as simple as a Control-Alt-Delete.
So we're expecting rain in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. Okay, well, radio's not working there, but anyway, we are definitely going to have some rain later in this race. Whether that comes by the end of the race is debatable at this point, and whether there'll be enough, but we'll see. Like I said, that 10 to 15 minutes can be a lot longer than that. But anyway, as you may have just seen, Dennis Hauger maintained second position, so undercut, overcut, it seems pretty same here at the Red Bull Ring. Didn't seem like there's too much of an advantage either way, but we're going to make the move around the outside
Nice
through
work,
turn
mate.
1, and that was a nice move on Dennis Hauger, carrying the speed on the more flowing line, and we're able to get through. So next up is Jane Deruvala, and oh, big moment there for us on the inside curb. We managed to save it, but Dennis Hauger's back round her outside. We go a little bit deep into turn 7, trying to hold off the Norwegian driver, and we do so. But that was a sketchy little moment for us there. Look in the background a shot as we go skating in sideways there, and we managed to get away with it. Goodness me, that was a hard-in-mouth moment as we focus our attention on Deruvala once more. Good run there through turn 9, but nothing we could do into turn 10 on that occasion. But great run out of the final corner. DRS open now towards turn 1. We look to the right, we look to the left, we look to the right and left again, and now we make the move around the outside into turn 1, but we can't quite get a stop using the runoff there. We lift out of it, and we'll give the place back to Jane Deruvala. And yeah, we'll have to go for that one again. But we threw it in, we tried to make it work, but ultimately we just tried to carry a bit too much speed there. up towards turn 3 now, and Hauger's up the inside as we were quite slow, of course, coming onto the straight, and we let Hauger through, try to get the switch back, but couldn't get the power down, and Dennis Hauger is back up into second position, and the 1-2 for MP Motorsport is restored, so they are scoring big this weekend. We continue on though, and we're on the back of Hauger once more. We make the move down the inside into turn 1, and we'll move ourselves back up into second position. Jane Deruvala is skipping away at the moment, so yeah, Jane Deruvala, certainly the team were right to give him the favourable treatment, because he is absolutely flying as Hauger's back down the inside into turn 4. We go a bit deep there, and this fight continues on as we just were, I don't know, very awkwardly deep and on the outside there. Had to give Hauger the room.
Gap to your teammate behind, 21.5 seconds.
And yeah, carried too much speed in. So yeah, Hauger back up into second position, and the fight goes on once more.
Watch the conditions, we think there's rain coming pretty soon, be careful.
And rain any minute now, so I really need to get focused and try and close the gap to Deruvala. Lock up there for Hauger, and we're going to switch it back and get up the inside. Not enough drive traction yet, but with the DRS and a little bit of power to the outside we go, and that should seal the deal for us as we move back ahead of Dennis Hauger, and a little bit deep into turn 4, but we get away with it.
Good job.
And we're up into second position once more, making the most of the little lock up there. Carted Hauger off the racing line, and we were able to capitalize on that. But Deruvala is well up the road.
Okay, conditions are going to keep deteriorating for 10 minutes at least.
So while we still have some grip as the conditions deteriorate, we need to push.
Time last lap, 1 minute 18.4.
And we nearly matched the fastest lap of the race, which we currently hold. So the wet
At
conditions,
least another 10 minutes until this rain evens out. Stay alert out there.
the wet conditions not slowing us down yet.
And the time last lap, 1 minute 19.3.
19.3, so just one lap later, and we lost 9/10 of a second, and we are catching Deruvala a little bit once more, so we still have pace.
Okay, last lap, 1 minute 23.0.
And now we're getting towards that crossover. If the fastest lap of the race is an 18.4, the crossover point is probably, you know, in the mid to high 20s, so we're not far away, but we're also not far away from the end of the race. We're on lap 35 of 40, so even if we box this lap, we're only going to do 5 laps on wets. Is it worth it? Is the risk higher than the reward if we stay out on slicks on what will very soon be more than wet conditions? It's a very tough decision to make as we make our way through the final few corners, and remembering that we struggled in the wet conditions earlier on the wet tyres, let alone on the slicks. But if we put the wet tyres on and everyone else is left to fend for themselves on slicks, maybe that can work for us.
Second place, you're in second place.
This could go either way. More radio. We need to know lap times.
Okay, that last lap, 1:25.9.
25.9. You know what? I think I'm happy with that in terms of it being the crossover point. We are on lap 36. If we box now, we'll have 4 laps. Oh, what's going on here? That is a mechanical failure for Ayumu Iwasa, and the Japanese driver is out with a mechanical failure for the second weekend in a row. But yeah, back to what I was saying about strategy.
Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap.
We're going to box for...
Copy that, super softs for the next box.
whoops, we don't want those. We do not want those. Let's try that again. We want the...
Okay, fitting the wet compound when you next come in.
That's the one. Right, wet tyres will be going on. We're going to go for the unconventional strategy, and with... well, we're only going to get 4 laps on these tyres. Lap 37, 38, 39 and 40. We're going to make a pit stop and see what we can make of this. Slick tyres come off, wet tyres go on.
Okay, let's go now. Come on. Perfect job from you and the crew there, mate. We're delighted with that.
Good pit stop. But where will we even come out of pit lane? I don't know. We could come out in P10. We could come out in P20. I've got no clue. As we make our way through turn 1 delicately on the narrow pit exit, we put the power down and we come out of pit lane already in 9th position. So we're still in the points regardless, and I think we are absolutely on the correct tyres right now, and the conditions are only going to get worse. They're only going to get more favourable for us, and funnily enough, the first car we need to overtake is none other than Jack Crawford. So let's see how quickly we can gain on the American as we try to generate a little bit of tyre temperature. No tyre blankets in Formula 2, of course, so we need to generate the tyre temperature ourselves out on circuit. So that is really precisely what we were trying to do there, but you can see we've already gained on Jack Crawford, so we're on the right tyres. But is it too late? Should we have made the change to lap earlier? Should we maybe not have changed tyres at all? We'll only find out at the end of the final lap. Down the inside of Crawford we go, and it's a pretty easy move up into 8th position.
You made it look so easy.
But it's a void to the next car, 11 seconds up the road for Frederik Vesti, so we have a lot of work to do if we want to catch up to that Prema. But with only a few laps left, we'll need a monstrous pace advantage in order to do so. The gap's already reduced into the 10-second range though through the final few corners, so maybe there's something to it.
That's 8th place. You're in 8th place.
Let's see how this goes. The end of the next lap. There's only 2 laps to go now, and we've closed the margin to Vesti to just 4 seconds, so we gained almost 7 seconds on that lap alone. Maybe this will work for us, but once we get to the group of cars, there's a whole cluster of cars.
Behind, 12.3 seconds.
Just up the road in front of Vesti, so once we get to them, we are going to need to make our way through them without losing any time if we want this strategy to work, because we've only got a lap and a half to go as we're tucked in behind Vesti. Now we get the power down on the exit, and it's an easy traction race for us as we now focus our attention straight away to Jack Doohan. We're going to go around the outside as we head through turn number 6, and Doohan gives us the room on the exit, and we're through on the Aussie man. As we now shift our attention once again forward to the next car, Enzo Fittipaldi it is, as we now start to think about where we can make this move on Enzo Fittipaldi. Can we do our sneaky last corner move? We'll make the move to the inside and we'll get through on Enzo Fittipaldi. Nicely done there, and that moves us up yet another position. Up next, it is none other than Théo Pourchaire, who we made the overtake on earlier in the race. And again, easy move on Théo Pourchaire. We're up into 4th position now, and it's Dennis Hauger in P3. Behrman's up into 2nd, so the Brit has got the better of the Norwegian in the closing stages and has done a good job in the wet weather to move up and spoil the 1-2 for MP Motorsport, and we might spoil the double podium as well. I think we're a bit too far back, but we're going to give it our all in the final 2 corners to see if we can close in the margin. We send it into turn 9, squeezing it in, and we close in significantly. Now through the final corner, taking all the inside curve, putting the power down. Hauger struggling for traction, and we're going to get there and move ahead into 3rd as Jane Deruvala crosses the line to take a race victory in the feature race. Masterclass from Jane Deruvala. And he wins, holds his nerve on the slick tyres in the wet. We'll take 3rd.
Race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And he proves the team were right to give him the favourable strategy. Jane Deruvala takes the full complement of 25 points for the race win today. Awesome stuff by the Indian.
It's a drive of true class. It's victory for Jayant Deruvala.
Alex, it's so hard when you've had a mental knock to recover and take victory like that, especially at this level. Brilliant stuff.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be MP Motorsport picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
Well, Jane Deruvala gets the better of his teammate today. A race victory for the Indian driver here at the feature race in Spielberg. And it was no mean feat to do so on the slick tyres at the end there. Ollie Behrman got the better of Dennis Hauger, who didn't even make the podium. We stole that one away on the wet tyres we used for just 4 laps.
It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you when Formula 2 returns.
Oh wow, how do we summarise that race? it was that was a really fun race actually. Just the sort of almost like standoff at the start with Hauger leading Deruvula, Pourchaire, myself and Bearman, where we were all just in line, no one making any overtakes, but we're all pushing. And then eventually the fight started between the MP Motorsport cars. Deruvula eventually won out there, but through no lack of effort from Dennis Hauger, who certainly gave him a good fight. Yeah, it was a really awesome battle between those two for a while, and then once the rain came down, Hauger seemed to slip away a little bit, and we made the decision to put the wet tyres on. I didn't have a lot of confidence in my pace on the dry tyres on the wet track surface. We had those conditions for practice in Spain, and I really struggled in that session, so yeah, I thought it would be better to put the wet tyres on regardless of whether it was theoretically faster, because I figured the risk on slicks in the wet was too high. So I thought I'd go with that, and I think we did optimize our result pretty well, regardless of making that pit stop. So reasonably happy with the decision there. But anyway, let's run through the top 10 in the race and see who scored points today. It was Jane Deruvula, of course, ahead of Ollie Bearman and myself, who also took the fastest lap. Hauger missed out on the podium by just a few meters, of course, and then Teo Pourchaire rounds out the top 5. So appropriately, we all maintained our top 5 positions, regardless of the few changes towards the end. Then it was Enzo Fittipaldi, who continues his good weekend ahead of Jack Doohan, Frederick Vesti, Jack Crawford, and Zane Maloney, rounding out the point scorers today. In terms of the Driver Championship, we lead the way 53 points clear of Dennis Hauger in second position. Then Frederick Vesti and Ollie Bearman, Frederick Vesti, and Jane Deruvula complete the top 5. Just 20 points separate second to 5th, so they're all very, very close together, and Jane Deruvula has definitely moved up the order. ART cars are next in the queue. Teo Pourchaire ahead of Victor Martins, with Ayumu Iwasa behind them, dropping away, unfortunately, with the DNF, and just an overall lackluster weekend, unfortunately, for the Japanese driver. In terms of the Teams Championship, MP Motorsport soar to the top with 220 points. Identical points all to us, actually. But they must be ahead on countback, and then Prema just 6 points behind. ART a little further adrift with 47 points to gain if they want to get back into the fight for the top spot. But yeah, that brings the Austria Formula 2 2023 Round 8 weekend to a close. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. And goodbye.